Do you find yourself wondering which wine pairs best with exotic sushi and curry dishes, but you're not sure where to begin? Well, I have got you covered. It's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's video. My name's Tiffany, and I help busy millennials who feel overwhelmed in the kitchen learn new skills to create quick, healthy meals with wine pairings. Check out my link in the description below. Follow me on social media for daily tips, tricks, recipes, and inspiration. And while you're there, be sure to download your copy of my weeknight recipe guide featuring 7 recipes that go from raw to ready in less than 30 minutes to help you spend less time in the kitchen and have more time to enjoy life as you wish. In this video, we are going to discuss 3 popular exotic cuisines and which wines are going to pair best with those cuisines. But that's not all. I also have a super simple strategy to help you create the perfect wine pairing experience to go along with your next meal. So be sure to stick around until the end. Let's get started. So the first exotic dish that we're going to look at is sushi. Now, sushi is typically a combination of seaweed, raw fish, and pickled rice. And according to many health field experts, this combination is one of the healthiest diets. And for those of you that are not a big fan of raw fish, this comes in delicious veggie combinations as well. So you don't have to go the raw fish route if you don't want to. Sometimes you'll find some tempura shrimp or smoked salmon, as well as all of those crunchy veggies. Now, when we are looking at sushi, a wine is going to go very well with those flavors, especially if you're adding in some soy sauce to dip, wasabi, or pickled ginger. Now, when we look at all of those flavors, we need to make sure that we have a crisp white wine that is going to not only hold up to those flavors, but also complement without overpowering them on their own. So we want a wine that is going to match the subtle flavors of that seafood, but also crisp and clean to stand up to the soy, ginger, and wasabi flavors that you typically find with sushi cuisine. So your prime option is going to be a nice clean Pinot Blanc. This is also a wine that you are going to want chilled, since the sushi is typically chilled as well, and that cold is going to accent the crispiness of the wine, making it the perfect balance and explosion of flavors on your taste buds. Now, before we jump into the next exotic cuisine, I want to hear from you. What is your favorite exotic dish, and what country does it come from? Drop it in the comments below. I look forward to reading these and learning how we can grow together one dish and one country at a time as we travel the world with this wine pairing exoticness. Now, the second exotic cuisine that we're going to take a look at is traditional Indian curry. Now, it's a challenge coming up with wine pairings because wine is not a typical beverage that you are going to find in India. Most people are going to be pairing their dishes with some chai tea, a mango lassi, or a crisp lager. But that doesn't mean that wine can't go with curry. It just means you have to be a little bit more creative, think outside the box, and look at those flavors that you are going to be enjoying with that curry dish. So typically with Indian curry, you are going to have rich, buttery notes, some spicy meat and veggies with strong aromatics of turmeric and cumin. Now, with all of these flavors, just like with the sushi, you need to have a wine that is going to stand up to those rich, buttery notes, the hint of spice, and those strong notes of turmeric. So your best option to go along with these classic Indian dishes will be a fresh acidic wine that's going to cut through the creaminess of that rich buttery sauce. But you also need a wine that's going to be full bodied to match the power of those spices of the turmeric and the cumin. So your best option to go with classic Indian dishes will be a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. Now, just like with the Pinot Blanc, this is going to be best chilled to go along with that Indian curry dish. Now, before we jump into the third exotic cuisine, I want to remind you to hit that subscribe button because I'm dropping videos like this every week, and I would hate for you to miss out on the next tip or trick shared right here inside my tasting room. So this third exotic cuisine that we are going to take a look at is Thai curry. Now, this is different from our Indian curry because it typically is going to be spicier, but also will combine a plethora of flavors, some sweet, some salty, some spicy, and some savory, all into a harmonious blend of flavors. Now, with Thai curry, just like the Indian curry, it can be a challenge to find that perfect wine. So to help with that, focus on the aromatics of that Thai curry dish versus just the flavor. Typically, Thai curry is going to be on the spicier note, so you're not going to taste a lot of flavors because of that added heat. This makes it easier to pay attention to the aromatics and find a wine that has similar aromatics, similar scents on your nose to match with that curry sauce. So if you are finding yourself with spicier dishes, specifically Thai curry with shrimp or other seafood, a Viognier is going to be your best option. This is a sweeter white wine that's going to be very crisp and clean that will cut back a little bit on that spiciness, but also accent the citrus and buttery notes that you will find with that seafood cuisine. Now, if you find yourself with more sweeter dishes, specifically those Thai dishes that are coconut milk based, a sweeter white wine is going to be your better option, such as a Riesling or a Gewürztraminer. These are also best options for those curry dishes that have chicken or pork as their main protein source. These are also going to be great options for those red and green curry sauces that are not quite as sweet as coconut milk, but they're not quite as spicy as your traditional Thai cuisine either. Now let's keep this momentum going by learning this 3 simple tip strategy to help you create the perfect wine pairing experience to go along with your next meal right away today. Tip number 1, as a general rule, red with red and white with white. So typically, red wine is going to go best with your red meats and your red tomato-based sauces, whereas white wine will go better with your white meats and your creamy, cheesy, garlic-based sauces. But that's not always the case, and that leads us to tip number 2, which is to consider your sides and seasonings. When it comes to picking that perfect wine to go along with your meal, you need to look at the meal as a whole. Don't just look at the main course, but looking at the main course and those side dishes and maybe even dessert, see what flavors are all across the board. Do you have lots of garlic and citrus across everything? Do you have more savory or spicy notes? You can even look at the country that cuisine is looking from. And by looking at all of those together, you are able to pick out the perfect wine that is going to bring that meal together as a whole. And tip number 3, sweet likes heat. So when you find yourself enjoying spicy dishes, specifically that Thai curry that we talked about, as well as some Mexican or other spicy cuisine, you want a sweet wine, either red or white, depending on what you're serving, to go with that spicy dish. The sweet wine is going to cut back on the spiciness, bringing out more flavors and making it more bearable. Now, if you're looking to accent the spiciness instead, grab yourself a glass of a dry wine and it will do just that. But remember, I warned you. Now, if you're ready to learn even more and become the social guru of wine pairing in your social circle, download your copy of my basic food and wine pairing guide that is going to teach you those tips and tricks and help you create the perfect wine pairing at your next meal.